The breaking point. Commander Elise Chen stood at the viewport of Orbital Station Helios, her dark eyes fixed on the debris field that had once been the colony vessel Horizon. Recovery drones moved silently through the wreckage, their lights pulsing as they searched for survivors. Chen knew there wouldn't be any. 834 civilians, Lieutenant Rivera said quietly beside her, 192 of them children. Chen's jaw tightened, but she maintained her composure. After 15 years in Earth's Defense Force, she had learned to contain her emotions, even when faced with tragedies like this. But this time was different. This time, something inside her had snapped. And the Galactic Council's response? She asked, though she already knew the answer. Rivera handed her a tablet. The message displayed was brief and familiar. The Council extends its deepest regrets for the unfortunate incident in Sector 7. A committee will be formed to investigate possible navigational errors by the human vessel. The Council reminds all member species that travel through contested regions carries inherent risks. Chen's fingers tightened around the tablet. Navigational errors, she repeated, voice flat. We provided them with intelligence on the Krell raiders in that sector 3 months ago. We requested additional patrols. We offered our own escort ships. They said the threat assessment didn't warrant resource allocation. Rivera replied. How many times have we heard that before? Chen's question hung in the air, rhetorical and heavy with 15 years of accumulated frustration. Before Rivera could respond, the communication panel on the wall chimed. The screen flickered to life, revealing Admiral Zhang's turned face. His silver-streaked hair was immaculately groomed, his uniform crisp, but there was something different in his eyes. A cold, determined gleam that sent a chill down Chen's spine. Commander Chen, Lieutenant Rivera, return to Earth immediately. Security Council is convening. Chen straightened automatically. Yes, sir. We'll depart within the hour. She hesitated, then asked, Has there been a decision? For a moment, Zhang's expression remained carefully neutral. Then something shifted in his face, a subtle change that spoke volumes to anyone who knew him well. Let's just say humanity's patience has officially run out, he replied. The screen went dark before she could respond. Chen and Rivera exchanged glances. In the 15 years since humanity had joined the galactic community, they had faced constant dismissal, condescension, and diplomatic slights. Human concerns were routinely ignored, human achievements downplayed, human territories given minimal protection from Council patrols. And now, 834 more lives had been lost because the Council couldn't be bothered to listen. Prepare the shuttle, Chen ordered. I want us planet-side within 5 hours. The journey back to Earth passed in tense silence, their military shuttle cutting through space at maximum speed. Chen spent most of the flight reviewing data files, reports of previous incidents, statistics on human losses due to Council negligence, diplomatic communications that led nowhere. The pattern was painfully clear. When the Orient trading fleet had violated human space and harvested minerals from an asteroid belt designated for human development, the Council had issued a mild reprimand. When Vexari diplomats had leaked sensitive human technology to their manufacturing guilds, the case had been dismissed for lack of evidence. When the Myriad Collective had restricted human colony expansion under false pretenses, the Council had sided with the Collective. The shuttle approached Earth, the blue-green planet growing larger in the viewports. Even from orbit, Chen could see the massive scar across Asia, the impact zone from 30 years ago, when humanity had first encountered alien life, not through peaceful contact, but through a military probe that had crashed, killing millions. That incident had brought humanity into the galactic community, but not as equals. Never as equals. The shuttle landed at the Singapore spaceport, where a transport was already waiting. Within minutes, Chen and Rivera were speeding toward the underground complex that housed Earth's Security Council. Guards checked their credentials and escorted them through a series of security checkpoints. The complex went deep, protected by layers of rock and advanced shielding technology. Few aliens had ever been permitted this far into humanity's command center. Admiral Zhang met them in the anteroom to the main chamber. Up close, Chen could see the exhaustion in his face, lines of fatigue etched around his eyes, but his posture remained rigid, his gaze steady. "Commander, Lieutenant," he acknowledged them with a nod. "You witnessed the recovery operation." "Yes, Admiral," Chen replied. "No survivors." Zhang's expression hardened. "The Council's ambassador has sent another communication. They suggest that perhaps the colony ship deviated from its approved flight path." Rivera made a small, angry sound. "That's absolutely false. We have the tracking data. We know." "Lieutenant," Zhang cut her off. "We all know that. That's why we're here today." He gestured toward the heavy doors leading to the council chamber. "For 15 years, we've played by their rules. We've been patient. We've been diplomatic. We've swallowed our pride and bitten our tongues while they treated us like children." He paused, meeting their eyes in turn. "That ends today." The doors swung open, revealing a circular room filled with Earth's highest military and political leaders. The mood was solemn, but charged with energy. Chen noticed that several stations around the table displayed technical schematics she didn't recognize. Weapon systems, perhaps, or defensive technologies that had been kept secret. "What you're about to hear doesn't leave this room," Zhang told them as they entered. "But I wanted you both here. You've seen firsthand what their neglect has cost us." As they took their seats, the council chairperson stood. The room fell silent. "Today," she announced, "we implement Operation Daybreak. May history remember that we tried patience first." The facility stretched for kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean, hidden from both Earth's general population and alien observation. Admiral Zhang felt a flutter of pride as he led Chen and Rivera through the vast underground chamber. Ships, hundreds of them. Advanced warships lined up in perfect rows, their hulls gleaming under harsh lights. None of these vessels appeared on any registry shared with the Galactic Council. None of them officially existed. "For 12 years, Zhang explained, "we've built this fleet in silence, all while pretending to struggle with basic spacefaring technology." Chen looked around in stunned disbelief. "I had no idea this existed." "Very few do," Zhang replied. "Need to know basis only." Rivera approached one of the nearest vessels, studying its configuration with a specialist's eye. "These designs, they're nothing like our public vessels." "That's the point, Lieutenant," said Director Quan, who had joined them silently. "What the Council sees is not what we have." Zhang pulled up schematics on his tablet. The display showed a network of orbital platforms surrounding Earth and its colonies. "Project Aegis is fully operational," he reported. "The planetary shield system can be deployed within 24 hours. "Shield system," Chen echoed, studying the schematics. "The Council believes this technology is centuries beyond our capability." "Precisely," Quan said with a hint of satisfaction. "And the Prometheus drives retrofitted to the entire fleet can reach the Arcturus checkpoint in under 3 days instead of the standard 20. Zhang allowed himself a small smile. The Prometheus drive had been humanity's greatest breakthrough and their most closely guarded secret. Aliens throughout the galaxy believed humans were still crawling through space using outdated fusion engines. They had no idea that humans could now cross vast distances in a fraction of the time. They continued walking between the rows of ships. Engineers and technicians worked throughout the facility, running final checks, loading equipment, and preparing for deployment. Everyone moved with quiet efficiency. They all understood what was at stake. The horizon's destruction changed everything, Quan said quietly. The Council voted unanimously. "We've lost enough," Zhang replied. 800 lives that could have been saved if the Council had simply listened to our warnings. They reached an elevator that took them up to the command deck. The doors opened onto a bustling control center carved directly into the bedrock. Massive screens displayed star charts, fleet positions, and communication channels. Officers moved between stations, their faces set with determination. "Admiral on deck," called Commander Okafor. The room snapped to attention. "As you were," Zhang said. The personnel returned to their work as he joined Okafor at the main tactical display. "Status report." Okafor gestured to the holographic map hovering above the console. "All vessels are at readiness level 1. Crews are boarding now. The Prometheus drives have been calibrated for the 3 target destinations." Zhang studied the deployment schedule, checking the timing of each phase of Operation Daybreak. For 12 years, humanity had been playing weak while building strength. The aliens believed humans lacked certain technical capabilities, a misconception carefully cultivated through misinformation and staged failures. When human scientists had developed quantum shielding, they had publicly announced a failed attempt at basic deflector technology. When the Prometheus drive was first tested, they had disguised it as an explosion in a remote research facility. Each time humans made a leap forward, they hid it behind a facade of struggles and setbacks. "The deception has served its purpose," Zhang said, more to himself than to Okafor. "But now it's time to show our true capabilities." Chen approached the tactical display, studying the fleet formations. "These are strike formations," she observed quietly. "Demonstration formations," Zhang corrected. "This is not war, Commander. This is revision of terms." He brought up images of 3 targets on the main display. "Operation Daybreak begins at 600, he announced to his assembled commanders. "Coordinates for all 3 phases have been transmitted to your secure channels." The room was absolutely silent as he continued. "Remember, this is not about revenge. This is about demonstrating our strength without causing unnecessary harm. We will show the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated, but we will do so with precision and restraint." He looked at the faces around him, determined, ready, committed. "Any questions?" When none came, he nodded sharply. "To your stations. The time for hiding our capabilities is over." As the commanders dispersed, Chen approached Zhang. "Admiral, permission to join the operation." "Granted," he replied. "You'll command the Krell intervention. Your experience with the Horizon recovery makes you uniquely qualified." Chen's expression hardened with resolve. "Thank you, Admiral." Zhang turned back to the tactical display. In less than 12 hours, humanity would reveal its true face to the galaxy, not with blind aggression, but with calculated demonstration. Not with revenge, but with a clear message. The Galactic Council had mistaken patience for weakness. They were about to discover just how wrong they had been. Unveiling our strength. Commander Chen stood on the bridge of the EDF Vindication, watching the Krell Raider base grow larger on the main screen. Blackstone Haven glittered against the darkness of space, its ramshackle structures clinging to a massive asteroid. Red warning lights blinked across the tactical display, showing the positions of Raider vessels. 8 minutes to optimal position, announced the navigation officer. Chen nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. For years, this Raider stronghold had terrorized the trade routes. For years, humans had asked the Council to act. The response had always been the same. The situation was diplomatically complex, their euphemism for too difficult to handle. Today, that would change. 11 other human warships moved into formation around the Vindication. None of them matched the designs registered with the Galactic Council. These vessels were sleeker, faster, more powerful, the products of humanity's secret shipyards. "All ships report ready, Commander," said Lieutenant Rivera from the tactical station. "Weapons systems are hot." "Defensive systems only," Chen corrected. "No casualties if possible." Rivera raised an eyebrow, but nodded. "Understood." Gravity projectors primed and ready. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. There was tension in the air, but also determination. Many of them had lost friends or family to Raider attacks, attacks that could have been prevented if the Council had taken human warnings seriously. "Raiders have detected us," reported the sensor officer. They're scrambling fighters. 20 small vessels launched from the main base. Chen watched calmly as red dots swarmed toward them on the tactical display. Let them come. Wait until they're in range of all 12 ships. The raider vessels accelerated, weapons charging. They clearly expected to face standard human ships, sluggish, weakly armed, with outdated defenses. What they encountered instead would change the narrative forever. They're in optimal range, Rivera announced. Chen nodded once. Activate gravity nets. Invisible fields of concentrated gravitational force expanded from the human ships, forming an interlocking web. The raider vessels suddenly slowed, then stopped, caught in the network of artificial gravity wells. Their engines strained against the inexorable pull, but to no avail. Gravity nets holding, Rivera reported. All raider vessels immobilized. Proceed to Phase 2, Chen ordered. The Vindication and 3 other ships broke formation, accelerating toward the asteroid base. As they approached, they deployed shield bubbles, another technology the Council believed was beyond human capabilities. Targeting the main weapon emplacements, Rivera said, her fingers dancing across the tactical console. Precision strikes only. Chen watched as surgical beams of concentrated energy lanced out from her ships, striking the defensive installations around the base with pinpoint accuracy. One by one, the raiders' weapons went dark, their power systems overloaded. Main base defenses neutralize, Rivera reported. No casualties detected. Chen opened a communication channel to all ships. Begin Phase 3. The remaining 8 vessels moved into position around the asteroid, creating a containment perimeter. From each ship, smaller craft emerged, not fighters, but specialized boarding vessels, each carrying a team of elite soldiers. Boarding teams away, Rivera announced. ETA to main base 2 minutes. Chen activated the ship-wide communication system. This is Commander Chen to all personnel. Remember our objectives. Secure the base, apprehend the leadership, recover all data on their operations and backers. Minimal force authorized. We want prisoners, not casualties. She watched the tactical display as the boarding teams penetrated the base from multiple entry points. The raiders, already stunned by the failure of their weapons and the immobilization of their ships, offered little resistance. Within 20 minutes, the operation was complete. Base secured, reported the team leader. Raider command captured. Downloading their databases now. Chen allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction. Well done. Begin processing the prisoners and prepare them for transport. As the cleanup operation proceeded, she opened a channel to Earth Command. Admiral Zhang's face appeared on the screen, his expression expectant. Blackstone Haven is secured, Chen reported. All objectives achieved with 0 casualties. We've captured the entire leadership and their operational data. Zhang nodded, pleased. Excellent work, Commander. The other operations have been equally successful. The Council's primary shipyard at Proxima has been temporarily disabled, and the slave market at Tannhauser Gate has been shut down, all without a single life lost. He paused, his expression growing more serious. The Council representatives are demanding explanations. They're convening an emergency session. We've agreed to attend. When do we leave? Chen asked. Immediately, Zhang replied. I want you with me, Commander. The Council should hear from someone who witnessed the Horizon disaster firsthand. The Galactic Council chamber was an impressive structure, a massive dome of transparent materials that showcased the stars beyond. Representatives from 27 species sat in tiered seating arranged in a perfect circle. At the center stood a holographic projection platform where speakers could address the assembly. Admiral Zhang, Commander Chen, and a small delegation of Earth's highest officials took their places on this platform. The chamber hummed with tension and outrage. High Counselor Vexar of the Myriad Collective spoke first, his multifaceted eyes flashing with anger. We demand an explanation for this unprecedented aggression. Human forces have violated sovereign territories, disabled critical infrastructure, and interfered with legitimate business operations. John waited for the translation to complete before responding, his voice calm and measured. High Counselor, with all due respect, we have violated nothing. The Krell raiders who destroyed our colony ship were operating from Blackstone Haven, a base you claimed did not exist. The shipyard at Proxima was constructing vessels for these same raiders, using technology you claimed humans were not permitted to access. The legitimate business at Tannhauser Gate involved the sale of sentient beings as property, a practice that violates your own Charter of Rights. Another counselor, a gaseous entity contained within a hovering sphere, pulsed with agitation. The methods you employed: gravity manipulation, shield technology, faster than light travel. These are all beyond your species' development level. No. Chen stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. They are beyond the development level you assigned to us. They are beyond what you believed we were capable of. She activated a holographic display showing the wreckage of the horizon. This colony ship was carrying 834 civilians to a new home. We warned you about raider activity in that sector. We requested additional patrols. We offered our own escort ships. You dismissed every warning, every offer. She looked around the chamber, meeting the alien gazes directly. For 15 years, we have been patient. We have endured your condescension, your dismissal, your negligence. We have played by your rules while you treated human lives as expendable. That ends today. The chamber erupted in angry exclamations and demands. Zhang raised a hand, waiting for silence before continuing. Today's operations were not acts of war. They were demonstrations of capability. Had we wished to cause harm, we could have. Instead, we neutralized threats that you had ignored, and we did so without taking a single life. He activated another holographic display, showing the locations of Earth's previously hidden fleet. From this day forward, humanity will defend its own interests. We will protect our trade routes, our colonies, and our citizens. We will honor existing treaties, but we will no longer request permissions that are routinely denied. This is highly irregular, sputtered a counselor with chitinous exoskeleton. You cannot simply. We already have, Zhang interrupted. But we are not withdrawing from the galactic community. We are simply asserting our right to equal treatment within it. High Counselor Tileri of the Elder Worlds, who had remained silent until now, leaned forward. What precisely are you proposing, Admiral? Zhang displayed a new document, the revised terms of Earth's membership in the Galactic Council. We propose a renegotiation of humanity's status, equal representation on all committees, recognition of Earth's sovereign territories, access to the same technological information available to other species, and most importantly, acknowledgement of our right to protect our citizens when the Council fails to do so. Tileri studied the terms, her ancient eyes unreadable. And if we refuse, then we will protect ourselves anyway, John replied simply. But we would prefer cooperation to isolation. An uncomfortable silence fell over the chamber as the implications became clear. Humanity had concealed its true capabilities for years. What else might they be hiding? And more importantly, what might they develop next if forced to continue alone? After several tense minutes, Tileri spoke again. I move that we establish a working group to review these terms and negotiate modifications acceptable to all parties. Seconded, rumbled a massive entity from the outer rim of the chamber. One by one, the counselors signaled their assent, some eagerly, others reluctantly, but all recognizing the new reality they faced. As the formal procedures began, Chen turned to Zhang. Do you think it will work? It already has, the Admiral replied quietly. They'll haggle over details, but the fundamental change has occurred. He gestured subtly around the chamber, where representatives were now speaking to their human counterparts with newfound respect, and perhaps a hint of wariness. They no longer see us as the newcomers to be tolerated. They see us as equals to be reckoned with. Chen looked back at the holographic display of the horizon's wreckage, still spinning silently against the backdrop of stars. Too high a price to pay, she murmured. Yes, Zhang agreed solemnly. But if we've done this right, it will be the last such price. The day humanity's patience ran out may become the day that saved countless future lives. As they left the chamber, observers from dozens of worlds watched them pass, their expressions ranging from concern to admiration to curiosity. The news was already spreading throughout the galaxy. Humanity had stepped out of the shadows and into the light, revealing strengths that had been hidden for years. The galaxy would never underestimate them again.